think, at least from my own judgment, it's the worst I've ever seen in American history. There have been other periods in American history where we've had a climate similar to what we have now. The 1790s, for example, nobody really ever thinks very much about that. But that's when the government was just getting underway, and there were real issues about, how strong was the central government supposed to be. The conservatives wanted a very strong central government, the liberals wanted a very weak central government, and because it was at the beginning of our history, and we really hadn't defined how a democracy functions, and we were the only democracy in the world at this time, we felt like the weight of the world and posterity was on our shoulders, that if we fail, then democracy might fail. And so you had these two sides, the Washington, Adams, Alexander Hamilton side, and you have the Thomas Jefferson, James Madison side that wanted a weaker central government. When you looked at and again, this just reminds me of today, when you looked at the person who was opposed to your political views, these people were not just kind of the loyal opposition, where we have kind of the same goals, same values. It's just kind of how you get there process. It wasn't like that because they believed these people were wrong-headed. That anything that they wanted, it could destroy this country and thus destroy the opportunity for democracy, not just for our country, but for the entire world. So you view these people not as a political opponent, but as a deadly enemy, as someone who, if they had their crazy, idiotic ideas, would completely destroy the United States, our experiment here. And so it got nasty. I mean, we had 10,000 troops marching into western Pennsylvania to put down the Whiskey Rebellion. We have militias, drilling and ready to overthrow the government if need be. So you have all these kinds of issues going on in the 1790s, and it was an incredibly toxic atmosphere, and all kinds of nasty, vicious things being written about the opponents, and knowingly telling lies about your opponents just to try to destroy their political credibility, because if they get their way, the country can be destroyed. And to me, that's the same kind of thing we're seeing today. You had it during World War I in this country. Obviously, you had it prior to the Civil War. This, they're your enemies kind of an attitude. And then in the 1950s with Joe McCarthy, McCarthyism, and the whole Cold War atmosphere. But I think it may be worse than the 1790s. And I think what makes it that way is television. You've got television, radio, because you got these folks who I think are really not truly talking politics and issues. They're spreading fear and conspiracy theories and things such as that I think are very dangerous, and we tend to zero in today on sound bites. And there's an example of a woman who was a part of the Tea Party movement, and she was opposed to Obamacare. And a reporter was asking her about this issue. I think it was maybe it was a rally that Glenn Beck had in D.C. But the issue was Obamacare, and she said it's unconstitutional. Obama's a socialist, it's unconstitutional. So the reporter asked the woman, in all seriousness and very respectfully, well, what part of the Constitution? I mean, how is it unconstitutional? What part of the Constitution does it violate? And her response was, well, I've never really read the Constitution, but I'm pretty sure it is. And I mean, it's that kind of uninformed attitudes that we tend to go with. At least in the 1790s, when they were hating each other, they read the Federalist Papers. They read and they were pretty well informed about the issues. And I'm not so sure we're doing that today, when there's the appeal to fear, the whole launching of conspiracy theories. It's toxic, and really is counter to democracy. I don't know whether the Tea Party actually knows what it wants to do other than destroy the government. And it's ironic, people want to get into the government who hate the government.